Hey everybody, I'm going to do a little thing on Jan Markell. Um, she puts out a weekly radio address and puts some of it on YouTube. This is her latest address. She's on with Pastor J.D. Farag, which is great. There's lots and lots and lots of stuff in here to talk about. To set this up, she's basically kicking off the program, lamenting the fact that a lot of people are emailing her to say that, nobody seems to care about the second coming and the rapture anymore. Nobody cares about end times things. Nobody's really, no, my pastor doesn't talk about it. I can't find a church that talks about it. My friends all think I'm nuts, that sort of thing. So that's what she's talking about here to get going.
So many letters, emails, and other forms of feedback that come into this ministry from people who are watching expectantly for the Lord's return. They come in daily. Sometimes they come in hourly, and along with that comes, quite frankly, heartache that hardly anyone they associate with, including friends from their church, family members, share any kind of an expectation about the time that we're in, the lateness of the hour, etc., the coming of the Lord. That is one of the biggest changes in my lifetime, and when I was growing in the faith, most Christians had some kind of expectancy about the return of Jesus Christ, and any minute. We looked at some of those actually rapture timing issues last week with Pastor Billy Crone. We will.
Yeah, Jan. Jan grew up in at the peak time, in the thick of the Hal Lindsey hype, Hal's hype time period between late '60s and into the '70s. So she's lamenting the fact that Hal Lindsey's whole book and the doctrine he created has kind of faded. Um, I personally think that's wonderful that it's faded because his book was false. His entire book was based on the idea that you can look at the Bible and you can look around you at the news, and the news is actually proving the Bible is true. Because look, we're watching prophecy come to pass before our very eyes. That was Hal Lindsey's entire premise of his book. That's the reason now people love to know what's going to happen in the future. They're intrigued by, man, is this whole world going to come to a screeching halt someday? Are we going to see nuclear war? Are we going to, are we just going to die off as a species? Is the sun going to explode? Are we going to be overtaken by aliens? I mean, it's a generally interesting thing to talk about. So a lot of people bought the book over, because it's got all these predictions in it. But Hal Lindsey's, entire book is based on the Bible is proven to be the word of God because we can look at the news and see it coming to pass. Very dangerous, very dangerous approach. Very dangerous. The news changes all the time. And we're seeing that Hal Lindsey was wrong about everything. Now, I know people could get on here and argue with me. Well, he predicted that the Soviet Union this and one world currency that and computers and blah and blah. Okay. I'm talking about the Bible here, the actual Bible and the state of Israel and generations and fig trees and all of that. We're going to see all of that come crashing down. And we're going to have one of a number of things happen, maybe all of them. First of all, sadly, we're going to see a lot of Christians lose their faith. You cannot put your trust in whether the Bible is true based on what you see around you. You just can't do that. We are to live by faith, not by sight. And Hal Lindsey's book was attractive to Christians because it allowed them to live by sight. We are proving the Bible is true. Look at that. Turn on the news. It's proving the Bible is true. We can't do that. That's very dangerous because we will be disappointed. Secondly, we're going to see a lot of people just, as we are seeing, leave these ideas behind and find other ideas. Myself personally, I'm more preterist now. I'm more in the camp of amillennialism, and all that sort of thing. The third thing we're going to see is, sadly, we're going to see people like Jan coming along, younger Jans who come along who say, yeah, you know what, 1948 wasn't really the magical year that it all started the generation. Yeah, it obviously wasn't. So 1967, that's the new year that the generation began. So we're just going to see new theories, or we're going to see the theory that C.I. Scofield created in the 1800s, which was, or maybe the 1920s, which was basically the word generation in Matthew 24 is actually the word for race. So the race of Jews will not pass away, right? So he just completely changes the meaning of words in the Bible like that, and boom, there you go. Now we don't even have to think about, you know, things happening in the world. So setting all that up, that's just really sad. And poor Jan is just having to deal with this all the time now, because every year that goes by that we get further and further away from 1948, they can't grab very many new young people to buy into this, because it's too long. We're 71 years almost now. It's just, so they're not getting new people in. They have to convince the older people to stay. They're all dying off. And so this whole view is dying.
We'll continue that this week as Pastor J.D. Farag joins me. And let me say by introduction that one of the reasons we feel it is so important to understand this is because headlines are so troubling today. And there's not a lot of good news. Pastor J.D. Farag and I have said 100 times there is little hope without the encouragement and the anticipation of the blessed hope, the imminent, any moment return of Jesus Christ.
See, that's really sad too. And I've heard J.D. Farag say, if it wasn't for the hope of the rapture, I would go insane. He repeats this quite often. I think that's really sad. Um, First of all, we really don't have it that bad right now. Okay, I realize everybody looks around at the evil of the world and I would go insane with all the homos and the Muslims and all the violence here and there. And it's like, it's funny because it always seems like it's everybody else's wickedness that I'm tired of. They're always like, "Oh Lord, come quickly and rescue us from the evil people around me." I hardly ever hear any of these people say, "Lord, I'm so tired of being a sinner. I just want you to come and make me whole and perfect so I can serve you perfectly." I mean, I'm sure they feel that way, but they never talk that way. No, I've watched all of JD's videos. Trust me, the guy is sad and mad and discouraged and pinning his hopes on the rapture because of other people's wickedness. Number one. So there's nothing biblical about the rapture is going to rescue us from all the wicked in the world. There's nothing biblical about clinging to the rapture for that. Jan, this is why people like me say the rapture, the pre-trib rapture, is escapism. You just demonstrated that perfectly. Lord, it's just so horrible here. Please get us out. That's escapism, Jan. Romans chapter 12 talks about what we're supposed to do. We are lights in this world. We are salt of the earth. We are saved by grace. God's mercy saved us. We are no better than any of these other wicked people, Jan. We're only saved because God rescued us from it. Otherwise, we would be right there too on our way to hell, shouting at God and marching in the streets and whatnot. All the things you hate so much. And we would be right there with them. Now, again, hating sin is no problem. I got no problem with that. But a lot of judgmental, holier than thou attitude, and quite frankly, not very much love for your fellow man. Why are you begging God to come and kick their butts and throw them in hell? What are you doing that for? I thought you had an evangelist heart, Jan. What about all those people that are lost for eternity because you begged Jesus to come back and beat their butts to the ground? By the way, that's not what's going to happen. He's never going to do that. Period. He's just never going to do that. He's going to save them. He's going to save them. I'm not saying anything about universal salvation. Don't get started. Don't get started. He's going to save people. He's not going to beat them. He did not come to condemn the world, but to save it. That verse has never been reversed. I come not to condemn the world, but to save it. Any who come to me will be saved. He's never going to come back as a soldier beating the crap out of people. We can get into that some other time. But Romans 12 says, overcome evil with good. It does not say when you see evil, duck into your closet and pray for the rapture. It says overcome evil by doing good. Now, does Jan do that? I believe so. Does J.D. Farag do that? I believe so. Not with this stuff, though. This stuff is, okay, guys, we're really sick and tired of all the wicked people around us. Let's run away into our church and cower in the corner and just pray that the rapture comes soon so we can get out of here. Not a good attitude, Jan. That's not biblical. There's nothing in the Bible like that. Paul never said anything like that. Paul lived with a lot of evil in his day. A lot more evil than we can even imagine. Just read Acts. Read what he says in Corinthians. Go read history, for goodness sake. The Greeks, are you serious? The ancient Greeks, you think they were more moral than the people today? We have nothing on those people. Seriously, the gospel, let me paint one more picture. In Paul's day, there were something like 25 to 50 million people living in the Roman Empire. Okay? Put that number in your head for a second. 25 million minimum were living in the Roman Empire. And there were maybe 10,000 Christians. You want to talk about darkness? The world was dark, man. It was so, and you're going to hear JD and Jan kind of joke around here for a second too, which is kind of funny. Watch this.
And yet, churches and pastors are discouraging this message. By way of introduction here, I had the privilege of ministering at the annual Proximity Conference in Southern California the first week of January, and other speakers were Pastors Barry Stagner, Pastor Jack Hibbs, Amir Sarfati, and a few weeks later, a caller called a Christian talk radio program on the K-Wave station in Costa Mesa, California, and said that she had watched Proximity on live stream, and certain aspects of what the speakers, including myself, were sharing had frightened her, and she named each speaker, the radio.
Notice she's paraphrasing, and she is not playing back the clip. So she is telling us third person what happened on somebody else's radio show, okay? So can we trust every single thing she's saying about what this caller said? Can we trust that she's got everything right with the the context of this conversation? The answer is no. No, we cannot. We cannot trust what Jan is saying. She's a third party. She's paraphrasing.
Radio host discouraged her from focusing on current events if they scare her. The host said that ever since the rebirth of Israel, people have been saying things are winding up. He called this a huge distraction. He told the caller to just get into her Bible and she would be happy.
Amen.
Okay, once again, the blessed hope just became the blasted hope. Pastor J.D. Farag addressed this on his...
I was just stunned when I heard this. So a caller calls in and says, I listened to the Proximity Conference where they're talking about doom and gloom, end of the world, Russia and nuclear weapons and war and bloodshed and this and that. And she's scared. And the guy's like, the host is like, look, if you're scared, don't listen to that. Just get into the Word of God. And he said, you'll be happy. I'm sure he was addressing Jan, the fact that she was scared. So you wanted the radio host to say, sorry, lady, you're going to be scared. Keep listening to Jan. Is that what you wanted him to say? And then she's criticizing the guy for telling her to go read the Bible. Are you out of your mind? Criticizing a guy for saying, read the Bible. Just get into the Word. I mean, Jan, are you even a Christian pastor? You just said the guy shouldn't have said that to her. You just told that. You just criticized that guy and said the blessed hope becomes the blasted hope in your little thing there. Because the man told her, you know what, if you're scared about the end of the world, go read the Bible. How dare you say that about him? Really? Don't read the Bible. Listen to Jan's radio program and get scared. I mean, are you guys insane? You guys are insane. You're going to keep losing listeners, okay? Because you don't get it. You are so out of touch. You are so mired in your fantasy and your delusions. Unbelievable. I can't believe you said that. That's just ridiculous.
His weekly YouTube prophecy update recently.
That he's been doing for 13 years, every single week saying Jesus is coming soon, and every single week Jesus doesn't come. I'll just remind you of that.
And said the Bible isn't about making us happy, but about making us ready. It's
okay, see, that's twisting. The lady was unhappy about you, Jan, and your scare tactics and your fear-mongering, and quite frankly, your war-mongering. Because I've heard you celebrating and getting excited when you see the prospect of war in the Middle East, where children will die and women will lose their sons. You get excited when that happens. So she was a little scared, and he said, reading the Bible will make you less scared. Jan, you're twisting it when you say that the Bible's not to make us happy. Yeah, it is in some ways. You use it to make you happy. You keep quoting Titus 2:13, the blessed hope, the blessed hope. Is that to make you happy, Jan? Because you just said it did. You just said, I would have no hope without the blessed hope. Where did you get that from, Jan? The Bible. I mean, God didn't write it in the sky and put it into your brain, did he? You're a hypocrite. Don't use the Bible to make yourself happy. Oh, I mean, gosh, it's supposed to make us ready. But except, when it comes to me and my views, I can read the Bible and be happy about the blessed hope. I mean, do you guys see the hypocrite there? Don't read the Bible to make yourself happy, except when you're listening to Jan and JD Farag, and they're using the Bible to try to make you happy. Just, this is why people don't like you. This is why people turn you off. You guys are hypocrites.
Making us ready for Jesus Christ's return.
Jan, there's nothing for us to do to get ready for Jesus Christ's return. We're already saved. Somebody tell me what a Christian is supposed to do to be quote unquote ready. We're going to be walking along the street, according to you, Jan and JD. According to you guys, we're going to be hanging out in our houses or swimming in the pool or sitting at work on a computer and whammo, without any warning whatsoever, raptured straight to heaven. If I'm a Christian, what in the world am I supposed to do to be ready? Have the right suit on? Have my hair combed? What? Nonsense. There's nothing even there. There's no answer to that. We need to be ready. You know why you say that, Jan? Because you want people to follow you and buy your books and buy your DVDs. I'm not saying you're in it for the money, but you do make a living off of it. I am saying you want followers to keep listening to you, and you're the way they get ready. You have to stay ready and waiting for the Lord and watching. Hey, guess how you get ready, guys? You listen to my radio program. Wow. Nice little system you got there, Jan. Anyone else find that interesting? That there's not one single shred of biblical anything that says everyone has to get ready for the rapture before it happens. Otherwise, something bad's going to happen to them. Not one shred says the rapture will happen, and if you're not ready, you're going to be in trouble, buddy. What's going to happen to me, Jan? He's going to whisk me to heaven, and I'm going to stand there, and he's going to be like, all right, you go over there in that group. Why? I'll talk to you guys later. You weren't ready for me. Now, you people in this group that were listening to Jan's program, you guys stay right there. I've got a big surprise for you guys. Right? Is that what's going to happen, Jan? And then he's going to walk over to us up in heaven and say, now, before the 7-year party begins, I've got a bone to pick with you people, not being ready. And then we're all going to be ashamed and like, oh man. All right, well, I'll see you guys later at the feast. And then he's going to go over to the other people that listen to Jan's program. According to Jan, these are like, a small select few. And he's going to give them all crowns to wear because they listen to Jan's program, right? Hey, Jan, you know what? There are millions, or at least thousands, of humble Christians in the Middle East and in China and in other places outside of America. I know, it's amazing. God is actually saving people in other countries. God isn't, so there's thousands of Christians around the world who have never even heard the concept of a rapture. And you know what they're doing, Jan? I mean, this is really going to disappoint you. But they're actually defending their faith in the face of death. And they are witnessing to their neighbors under the threat of death or imprisonment. And people are getting saved because they are being persecuted, and they're seeing the joy on their faces for being persecuted for the name of the Lord. Hey, Jan, you know what? I don't think God's going to shame them because they weren't ready for the rapture. Because they weren't reading your internet blog and watching you on YouTube and going, oh my gosh, look how close we are. Like you said 3 or 4 or 5 years ago when Obama was president, and oh my goodness, for sure, he's the Antichrist. Well, okay, fine. Putting words in your mouth, you didn't say it that way. You heavily insinuated that Obama was the Antichrist. Can you guys tell I have a kind of a problem with Jan? I do. I have a problem with Jan. And I got no problem telling you guys my problems. So all you Jan fanboys, come on in, Feel free to defend her to death without listening to this video. Can't wait to hear what you say. I'll have more on this video later. Thanks.